Hello art friends, welcome to Learn to Draw and Paint with me, Miss Nikki. Thank you so much for being here today and watching. I hope you have enjoyed my other videos in the past if you have watched them. I love experimenting in here and thinking of different projects for you guys for Learn to Draw and Paint, and I hope that you are getting some inspiration and using your creativity to create some of the things of your own. So I hope I'm helping you with some of that. I hope all is well. I hope you and your family are continuing to stay clean, stay safe, stay healthy during this time, but also staying happy and healthy. I hope you guys are remaining optimistic. I know it's hard here and there, but please hang in there. This will all be over sometime soon, hopefully. Hopefully. It'll return back to normal eventually. I hope. But in the meantime, please remember to stay optimistic during this time. And also staying active no matter what you are doing, whether it is helping, cleaning, cooking, helping mom or dad around the house, whether it is doing activities such as art or playing an instrument, reading, playing, staying physically active, whether it is physically active inside or outside. On the nice days, please take advantage of it. We live in Illinois and the weather is very unpredictable here. So if it is a nice day, please take the opportunity and advantage of the nice weather that we are having. Get some fresh air, enjoy nature, become one with nature, I should say. But yeah, please try to get outside once in a while. Don't stay cooped up inside the house all day. Don't spend too much time watching that TV. But I hope that you are also keeping up with your schoolwork. Remember, keep up with your schoolwork and get good grades. Stay in school. School is very important, so please do your homework. Stay active with school. Whether it is watching those Zoom or being in the classroom on Zoom or watching some other videos that your teachers may be providing you, kind of like what I'm doing. So please remember to keep up with that. So furthermore, I thought that today's projects could revolve around a special holiday that is coming up. I have one that is not related to the special holiday, but we might get to that, we might not. So for the first project, I was thinking that we would kind of focus on a certain holiday, and it's a very important one, which is known as Mother's Day. So Mother's Day is right around the corner, and it is a very important day because, you know what, moms are very important. They do so much for us, and they love you with all their heart. And you know what, there are so many different kinds of mothers out there. There are grandmothers, so without your mother there wouldn't be no grandmother. There's your aunts, if they are mothers, you know, you could give these gifts to them to show your appreciation for them as well, just as a mom. Or if you have a stepmom or possibly even a babysitter that's a mom, you could use these projects to kind of show your love and appreciation for them. So I thought that I would focus mainly on watercolor today. I don't feel like I've touched base on that yet with my art video, so I'm gonna do some techniques and tutorials on how one can work with some watercolors. Now, if you don't have watercolors, I apologize. I'll try to think of, if you have tempera, that's fine too. It's the same basic techniques, just using a different medium or a different type of paint. So watercolor is paint using water. It's usually in a dry form, and then you add water and you get your colors that way. And then tempera, which comes in a liquid form, is just a little bit different. Depending on what look you want is gonna be different depending on the paint that you use. So acrylic is very different from tempera, but the reason why I use tempera a lot is because it is washable. Acrylic doesn't really wash off certain things, so you gotta be careful with that. So I'm gonna show you a little bit of watercolor here and there and give you guys some techniques in order to create some lovely cards for your moms, for all the moms in your life. So we're gonna be making colored paper today using our watercolors. So you're probably like, what? Colored paper? What is that? It's just, you know, papers that we color with paint first, and then we could use those papers to make other things. Like some people use colored papers to make specifically collages. So for our other project, I kind of made this one. This one is just using construction paper, and I tore the construction paper up to make this. It's going to be a background, and we're going to do a shadow project on this one. So this is just talking about our second project that we might get into. If we don't, I apologize just by timing, but I do want to just like give you an introduction to it so that way you can do it at home. You don't necessarily have to watch me do it step by step, but I am going to go briefly over it so that way you know what to do. But for our color papers, I just used Crayon watercolors. If you do have watercolors at home, no matter what brand it is, maybe try it out. And it's just like depending on what you buy is going to depend on the quality of the paint. So Crayon, that's like top-notch quality. But like, I don't know, dollar store may not be the best quality, but you know what? Work with what you have. Like I said, if you have tempera or watercolors, great. If not, if you have construction paper or if you even have markers, you can make a card using markers. But I'm going to cover some watercolor techniques for you guys today. Just some basic ones, because watercolor has so many different techniques. There's like wet on wet, so I'll try to show you that. And then there's, you know, blending techniques that I'm going to talk about today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my camera so that way you guys can see. Gonna scoot this over. Alrighty, there we go. So I hope that is okay for you guys. Oh, my strap is in the way. Okay, so if you have a sketchbook, great. I would use sketchbook paper. This is mixed media sketchbook paper. Every sketchbook may be different, so just use what you have. If you have just white paper, it works well on that too, especially watercolor. Now the thing with regular white paper, like printer paper, since it is thinner, like you could see a little bit of your hand through it, so it is thinner than your sketchbook paper. So the thing with that is, if you are using just regular paper, I feel like this was, I don't know what paper this was, but I just found it and I saw that it was a colored piece of paper and I decided to make a little card out of it. So if you have either sketchbook or regular, that's fine. I'll show you how to do watercolor on both, just so that way you guys can see the difference. So the thing with printer paper is that it will try to curl on you. Now if you have paper that's trying to like curl up on you, like the sides will want to curl, just try to let it dry first, and then if you want to like press it flat, put like a heavy book on it, or like a heavy box, or like even a crayon box on it, or you could put stuff on the corners to keep the corners from rolling up on you. That's fine. So what you're gonna need is a cup of water, a lot of paper towels. I would put a piece of paper down underneath so that way you're not going on your surface, whatever it may be. So I'm gonna put some old paper that I'm not using underneath so that way I'm not getting it on my table or surface. I'm gonna put a bunch down, because then your table's gonna be all wet and you might have to wipe your table down depending on if you are doing this or not, or how wet you're gonna get with your paper. Or if you have a tablecloth, that's great, but if not, just lay some papers down or some newspaper, that would be fine. All right, and then here are, oh, why is this out of focus? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, now I have different brushes, and and that's another thing about watercolor is if you have different brush sizes, bring those out, because every size will matter. So I like using big brushes, like even like an old makeup brush, like if your mom or someone that you know has an old makeup brush that they want to donate to your art cause or your art supplies, maybe ask first. But you could use a bigger brush for more of the background, and then this could be the main images that you're trying to do, and then the little one is for like specific details. Now when it's all dry, if you don't want to do details using the little brush, then you could always just write on Sharpie with it. It actually looks really pretty. So I'm going to show you using white paper. So I'm going to use my big brush. Use whatever brush you have. So I'm just gonna show you this one. I just made this one and I was waiting for it to dry. So this one I did blue for the whole background, and then I added just red. And you're probably like, what? I only see purple. Well, I put red in there and it mixed with that blue while it was still wet. And that's how I got my red, and like red to peek out here and there, but I also got that like kind of hue of purple. So for this one, I'm just gonna do like almost like a blend. So I'm gonna start on the left and work my way to the right. So this one, I'm just doing kind of like almost like stripes. For this one, I'm just gonna do like stripes. Almost like an ombre effect. Ombre. No, ombre. Ombre is in Spanish, I think, for... I don't know what that means. There we go. So there's my purple. You see I'm going off the paper, so that way I'm getting all my edges, but see how it's wanting to curl up here in that left corner, top left corner? See, it's already wanting to curl. So go a little bit more into the middle with that purple. Right, and then you're ready for the next color. You could do whatever colors you want. I'm just doing purple and then a nice blue, kind of, because what two colors make purple? Red and blue. So that purple is a nice kind of buddy to go with that blue, because purple is made out of blue. So see how I kind of swept that blue right on top of that purple, so that way it kind of blends in together. So you could do that. Or if you just want to just do one color right next to each other, you could do that. That is totally fine. If you want that separation, that's fine too. But if you want that blendy look, go ahead and just layer the next color that you want right on top. All right. So I'm going back and forth a lot with my water, so you are gonna need a lot of water. If it gets all murky in there, you might want to change your water. So my next color is gonna be green. And you're probably like, why are you doing green? Well, the reason why I'm doing green is I'm kind of thinking of the rainbow in a sense. So what comes after yellow? Think about it. On the rainbow, what comes after yellow? It's gonna be green. And then what comes after the green on the rainbow? If you said blue, you are correct. So, sorry, I'm just getting off track, but see how I layered that green right on top of that blue? So this is just one way you could do it. You kind of do it like a ombre, or yeah, ombre. I don't know. I can't say it. Kind of technique right here. where you're layering colors into one another so that way you get kind of like a blended effect. See, you're moving the green right across that blue. Okay, but see, it's kind of like the rainbow. So we have green, and then right after green goes blue, and then you go purple. And that kind of makes it a good color combination too, because what two colors make green as well? So think about your color wheel. What two colors make green? And they are kind of sandwiching this green color right on the rainbow. If you need help, you could also look on the rainbow. What two colors are next to the green on a rainbow that make the color green? So it's going to be yellow, because yellow comes before the green, and then it's going to be blue, because the blue comes after the green. So just think about that. If I'm confusing you, I'm sorry. Just trying to think of ways to help you understand, like just the color wheel and referencing the what's it called, the rainbow. There we go. Now this is just one way you could do it. Now it's going to be very flimsy, so take one of your papers, kind of slide it underneath, and then you could put this off to the side so it could dry. So I'm just going to go right into my next one, and I'm going to show you something different. Now I'm going to start off with red. And I'm going to paint the whole paper red. And that's why I suggest, if you have a bigger brush, use that bigger brush instead of a little one, because what's going to cover the surface of this paper faster, the big brush or this brush? It's going to be this brush. You can use this brush, it's just going to take you a little bit more time, which is totally fine. You have time. No worries. Remember, going back and forth between the paint and the water. If you want that darker red, you're going to add less water. So see, I'm just going straight into the red. I should put the paint on this side so that way you can see. Sorry. So I'm just going straight into the red because there's some water in there already. Now if you want to get it kind of like a pinkish color, you're going to add a lot of water and spread that water right on there. Or you could dip it in the water and then go straight to the red, whichever works. Now when painting, it helps if you don't like go scribble scribble. It helps if you go up and down or side to side. Just keeps your brush from getting a bad hair day. You want your brush to have a good hair day. Alright, so there is my red paper. Now I'm gonna add some yellow and see what I get with that. Go. So I'm just adding yellow right on the wet red, and I'm kind of getting an orange tint from it. Now be careful with your yellow. Your yellow is going to be right up against that green color, and if you made like a puddle with that green, it's going to get into that yellow and it's going to be very hard to get to paint with that green in there. So give your palette or whatever you're working with a good dab with a paper towel. Same thing, especially in that yellow, because there's going to be green in that yellow. So if you have color contamination or color mixing on accident, just go in, clean it up with a paper towel. See, that's a lot better. So that way you're getting that color you want. Now since I'm going back and forth between my picture and the yellow, I'm also getting that red in there. So it is creating that orange, so you may have to clean that orange out, because you don't want orange, that yellow staying orange. Yellow is probably the trickiest color to keep clean in this palette, because it's right up again, because it's the lightest color on our palette. So yellow is the lightest color, and so it will get mixed super easy. But the way you fix that is with a paper towel. So there you go. Here's another way of kind of mixing colors on your paper and getting a different effect. So it kind of looks like a sunset right now because that red is mixing in with that yellow to create like an orange. But you could see little spots of yellow here and there too. But it's also creating an orange in there as well. So there we go. I'm going to slide a piece of paper underneath and then go to my next one. That's the cool thing about watercolor. You can make all these papers for like cards especially. So you can make like your own card paper and then make handmade cards for everybody, for every holiday. Isn't that neat? So I'm gonna show you a different technique, which is wet on wet painting. So I'm actually gonna dump out my water because it is getting icky. Where am I gonna, or just get a new cup, but try to use what you have and not try to make all your cups in your house messy. So for this technique, you might want to get a fresh cup of water, some fresh water. Try not to spill on your paper. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because we are gonna add water to it anyway. But don't like drench it. All right, so this is a wet on wet technique. So I'm gonna paint my whole paper in clear water. Make sure you get all the sides, the corners, everywhere. So it's really wet. Now this may be harder to do on printer paper, or you might just have a very, very soaked piece of paper that is very see-through. So just keep that in mind. So see, it's trying to curl on me. So just be careful with that. All right. Now what you can do now, take your smaller brush, go in a color, maybe put some extra water in there, and then you just do dots of that color. And it's gonna want to expand outward. So you could also flatten your brush to get a bigger spot. And if you have a straw, or you could just use your mouth, you could blow it or just tilt your paper in order to get some different color movements or colors here and there. Now, a cool project to do, especially with this technique, would be probably with a coffee filter, if you want to try that out. If you have a coffee filter at home, you could dip the whole coffee filter in some water or run it under the sink. But be careful, be delicate at this point when you get it super wet. But you could just add the colors here and there, and then once you lay it out dry, so you flatten it out and you let it dry, and it'll kind of turn into almost like a tissue paper. So you could use that for projects as well. Now this process might take a while to cover the whole page, or you might have to move the paper around to get into those sections, but look at that, look at how cool that is. It's kind of like a dripping effect. Now you could do that, or you could just leave the dots as is and let them dry like that. All right. So I'm going to show you one more technique. And I'll just do it. Where is it? Oh. So I forgot to get another. Excuse me while I get another piece of paper. So here's another one. Put that one off to the side. Oh, I forgot to mention another thing, but I'll have to go back to that. So actually, I'm going to cut this in half so I could show you the next two techniques I forgot. So, well, one of them I didn't forget, but the other one I forgot about. And if you want to downsize your cards to make like a couple mini ones, you could do that as well. Just be careful. There we go. I just folded the paper. And if you have some, you could just cut those off. All right. So on this piece of paper, I'm just going to show you a simple splatter technique. I love splatter. I have a lot of students who like this technique. It is messy, but you know what? It is probably the most fun. And you can get like a really artsy look with that technique. So all you're gonna do, go into the color that you want, get it really wet, because we want a nice dark, we want it be able to splash it onto our paper. And then using your finger or another brush, you can hit them together. And I'm going to show you that in a second. But if you use your finger, try not to whack your finger a whole bunch of times and have your finger sore. I had a student do that, and the poor thing, he was like, my finger hurts. And I'm like, oh, okay. We could just, do this. So I gave him another brush, and I just had the student go like this. Now, like I said, it is messy. I got it on my arms already. I got it on this other piece of paper I wanted to use. So if you're a child or you guys are doing this, try to be as less messy as possible, because we don't want to get everything all messy, okay? I know it's art and it does get a little messy here and there, but don't try to make a big mess, okay? Or I like to just tap it with my finger. I feel like that makes less mess. So I have my index finger on top. I'm holding it with my thumb and my middle finger. And some of you may not be able to do this, so you might just want to stick with this. But if you want to try it out, there's no wrong way, unless you're making, see, like I'm getting it on my face. So just be careful on how much, just need to tap it lightly. I like doing it this way. It's going directly on the paper, it's not getting on my face. So I like to do it with my index finger. But some of you might have a hard time doing that. So if so, just use your finger and the paintbrush, or another paintbrush or pencil to do that. So I'm gonna add some red in there. Ooh, look at that red. I hope this is not getting on my camera lens. Also, if you want to get those lines, you're gonna go whack. You're gonna lift your brush. So ooh, let me clean my brush for a second and show you with maybe black. I might go black. There There we go. So if you want those lines in your splatter, you're gonna lift your brush and go straight down. Now this might cause a little bit more mess than you want. So I'm just holding my brush like this, and I'm slamming it almost down on the paper. Stopping when I reach that paper. So there is a famous artist who does this, and his name is Jackson Pollock. He does all splatter paint artworks. Some of them are really, really big and intricate. There's so many splatters on there. But I really like this. This is probably my favorite. But he did different types of splatters. So he did, whoops! He did lines, he did probably just little dots too, but he really experimented with different kinds of splatters here and there. Alright, so that is your splatter one. Alright, now here is the last one I'm going to show you, and then some of my other ones are starting to get dry, and I'll start another thing with you guys. Another way of making your Mother's Day card. Or some other details that you could add to your Mother's Day card with either markers or with more watercolor. You just got to be careful, and you got to make sure that your papers are all the way dry if you are going to do little details, especially with marker, because then that water is going to get in your marker and it's going to make it bleed more, and you don't want that. Okay, now here's another technique that I find kind of cool. I learned this in my watercolor class. So if you just have regular table salt at home, what you could do, pour a little bit into your hand. There we go. Take a little pinch, like you're gonna put it in a soup, and then just sprinkle it on your paper. Or you could do it in certain sections only. It's up to you. There we go. Now if you have extra, just throw that away. And then once this dries, then it's going to show where the salt was laying in it. So that's all you do for that one, is like you could put all your colors down. You could do this on pretty much the techniques that I showed you, covering the full piece of paper, and that will kind of give it a different watercolor effect. So I'm going to put this off to the side. But here is my first one. It's almost dry. It's still a little damp, so no worries there, but I would wait till it's fully dry. Ooh. Yeah. So with the printer paper, it is very flimsy. So it's literally folding in half as I'm holding it. It won't want to stand up when I hold it. It's going to be very flimsy. So just so you know. Now this one, not flimsy at all. So that's the difference between those two, especially if you are working with watercolor. Now if you get like wet spots like that and you want to just give them a little pat to dry faster, you can. It's just, or if you want to lift that part up completely, you could do that with paper towels. If you want to make like little spots, but I kind of like that. Or I'm gonna add, or you could fix those really wet spots and just add more paint to those wet spots, or spread that wet spot out, depending on what you want to do. Alrighty. So this bottom half is pretty much dry, so I'm actually gonna show you what you can do. You can honestly, if you want to get multiple cards out of this, you can fold it like a hot dog. Like a hot dog. Like this. And then if you want to fold it another time, like this, to get 4 equal parts, you can. So, but for right now I just have 2, but if you want to cut on that line that we just folded, now you have 2 cards instead of just 1. So see? That's what I probably did for this one, but I just cut the other part off and that ended up somewhere else. So here you go. And you have 2 separate cards now. So you could do it for 2 separate people. So this one could be for mom, this one could be for your aunt or grandma or stepmom or whoever else is in your life that is a mom. All right. So you could do cards or you could do one nice picture. So I'm just going to show you something that you could do. I'm going to show you in watercolor, and then I'll show you in marker once these are all the way dry. So they just need a little bit more dry time, and then I'll get right back to them. But this one is nice and dry now. So using a little brush, I'm going to go into the black. Now the black on here is like in the paint palette is mostly I feel like for detail, but people use it to make night sky or just mix colors a little darker. You know, you use black for some color mixing here and there, but I like to use the black especially. That's me personally. I like to use the black especially when I'm doing small details. I just dip it in there, kind of like I'm doing some calligraphy. So I'm gonna make a heart. Now when you're trying to paint with watercolor, it might be tricky because your brush might be too wet, it might have too much paint in it. So just be careful. If you need to go over some lines to make them thicker, that's fine. Just take your time. Keep your arms straight. That'll help a lot. I'm doing some wrist action here and there just to go over the super thin spots. But mostly if you want to just get the general shape of your heart, you're gonna keep your arms straight. You're gonna go back and forth with the water. And then you're just connecting your lines or going over your lines to make them thicker. Just like that. It's not a perfect heart, but I think it's pretty good. So what you could do next is you could you can write words with your thin brush. You just have to be very, very delicate. I can show you, I'll probably write it for you guys, but you gotta be very careful. Now if you're working over something that's already wet, try to lift your wrist. It's gonna be hard, or try to move your body so that way you're kinda centered with your paper. Now, so before I'm gonna start writing, I'm actually gonna write in pencil. So that'll help keep me on track. So happy Mother's Day. So I'm gonna do it in cursive. If you guys know cursive, great. If you don't, you might learn something today. But everything just takes practice, even cursive. So I was taught this in school a long, long time ago. And it's helped me here and there with my artwork, I feel like. It's just another way of writing. But also, people get really into it and then they do letters like super well, and then they become calligraphers instead, or kind of, so it's like word art, so calligraphy. So right now I'm just using that black and I'm going over my letters. I'm trying my best. Now it's going to be hard depending on, if you had a straight brush it would be a little easier, but my brush is a little curved, so it's a little harder. So just try your best. Oops. Gotta be very focused. And I may be going fast, or too fast for you. So don't try to follow my speed, just go at your own pace. But like I said, this is very hard with the curved brush. This is not the best brush to be using. But this is probably, I think, one of, I don't know, I just found this one and it happened to be a thin brush, so I decided to use it. A lot of people make their own brushes. Some people don't even use a brush. Some people use toothpicks or what else? Yeah, some people just use random things to paint. Some people use hair to make brushes. Some people use branches. I actually did a whole painting in using a branch. I just put a little point on the tip of my branch that I was using, and I used that as a brush. It was more like a stick at that point, so I'll show you. So imagine this is a branch, and I kind of made an artwork using the scratches from the branch, or the point of the branch that I was using. But I'm just gonna continue with my brush. There we go. Exclamation point. So remember, watch your hand, because I got some of the heart on my elbow. It's the struggles of being a lefty, but just be careful when you're trying to paint with the black and it's still wet. That's why I say let things dry. Or if you have a hair dryer, use that, because that is a really good tool. So you could give your mom something like this. You could put little flowers here and there. So, what else did I want to show? You could put leaves, so I'm gonna put some green in there. Ooh, that's a lot of green. So you could put leaves here and there. Leaf on the inside. So you can make this look like almost like a heart wreath. You could put like these little swirly flowers on there. So I'm going to show you with the red. So I'm just doing some swirlies. Now if you're doing it right up against the green, be careful, because that green is still wet. I would have everything dry before you even attempt doing extra details, okay? So even My heart, I should have let that dry fully and then get back to that. So I'm just gonna go back to the salt and show you what I got out of it. So look at that. That's what the salt created. Kind of created like these little, kind of like cauliflower clouds, which I find very cool. That's once so the salt is having that paper dry, and that's what it's getting. That's kind of like almost flowery effect, but also it kind of reminds me of cauliflower. But just to show you. But I feel like if you made just colored papers and put like something nice on here, like either thank you or thinking of you or even Happy Mother's Day, they could be great gifts for anybody. All right, so I'm just gonna go into that second project I was talking to you about. I'm not gonna have time to finish it, but I at least want to explain it so that way you could probably do it at home. So all I did was I took construction paper and see, oh, I got some splatter on here, and I just ripped it up. Now, I prefer to rip it in strips, but ripping it in strips is actually pretty hard. I tried it myself and it wasn't the best, so I got some of these weird shapes, and then you're just gluing it together. And glue those extra pieces down. Now, what I challenge you guys to do this because I feel like this is a really cool project. Now, I want you to go into your room and find a toy. It could be any toy. This isn't really a toy, this is kind of more of a decoration. This is a little squishy stress ball animal I won from like a carnival, which I find super cute. And I want you to create the background first. So think about your animal. So I'm gonna do the elephant. I really like the elephant, and I thought I could make a really cool background. So where do elephants live? So think about where the animal you chose lives, and think about what kind of background you could create. If it's a polar bear, you might wanna do that watercolor technique with some blue, like a blue background, and that would be kind of cool. Looks like it's snowing. But I just made one using red, yellow, and orange because an elephant lives on the savannah, which are in Africa for the most part, I think. And then I want you, so create your background, pick your toy first. So pick what you want to do first, think about your background, create your background using ripped pieces of colored paper that you may have. If you want to, so this would be a good one for my horse. I feel like that would be a great one for my horse. See? And he would live there. But I'm gonna do my elephant one. Now, it may be hard on textured paper because this is now texture. We created texture with the ripped pieces of paper. If you don't like that, that's fine. I'm just showing you. So I'm gonna have a light. So this is just a lamp. If you have permission, maybe use someone's phone and put the flashlight on it. But this is how I'm gonna show you. If it helps to rip the paper, sorry, I'm just shedding some light on this, but if you need help ripping paper, use a ruler. I should have used a ruler. And then rip it this way. If you don't want to rip it, that's fine. I feel like it's super fun, especially if you're creating like a background. Especially, it's giving it an extra texture to it. You could visibly see the texture. There you go. So using the ruler does help to make those extra strips of paper. And I would just put that for my horse one. If I was going to do my horse one. But I'm going to do my elephant. Now I am going to run out of time. But the goal of this project, you could even do this project outside. So create your background first, go outside, and then what you're gonna use is the sunlight to create a shadow. Let's see if I'm gonna get a shadow. I might have to turn off the light, so I'm gonna be right back. Whoa. My goodness. Okay. So there we go. So try to create a shadow using light. It's not going to be a perfect one, but you could try. I might actually try using my phone. All right, I'm going to turn off this one. There we go, yes. So this would be a cool project if you were in the dark somewhere. And then what I want you to do is take a pencil, and you might want someone to hold it for you because I'm moving as I'm doing this. Ooh, my goodness. Oh, this is hard. Especially if you're doing it by yourself. But have someone hold. If you're doing this with a sibling, maybe ask them to hold it for you because this is hard. Oh boy. Now try your best, because this is kind of hard. But this would be a fun project to do outside, weather permitting. So I'm gonna turn my lamp back on. All right, there we go. If you want to eyeball it and try to connect the dots, or so there's my elephant on my paper, if you can see it. So what else you can do is, you don't have to do this on this paper first. So what we're basically essentially doing is making a silhouette. So you're probably like, what is a silhouette? Now a silhouette is the outside form or outside shape of a form. So I'm going to turn my lamp off again. Ooh. So that is the silhouette of my elephant. So see? So that's what you're trying to draw. If you want to do that on white paper, color that white paper black, or even do it on a black paper and use a white crayon or colored pencil. Cut your silhouette out and then paste it onto the, whoops. Paste it onto the, what's it called? Your collage paper. I feel like that would work as well. So I'm just going to show you. So here's my elephant. I'm just going over the pencil. Just like that. There you go. You have your elephant. You may need to do some research online. I found this project online and I thought it was really good and good for you art students. This kind of gives you practice on how to draw a silhouette. So I'm going to turn my light back on. Ouch. Ooh. Sorry. Oh my gosh. But like I said, you could do this on black paper as well. No, never mind. I retract that statement. Don't listen to that. So I didn't think about this. So if you are trying to do your silhouette on black paper, you're not going to be able to see it because your shadow is going to be black. So don't do it on black paper. Do it on white paper and then probably paint it all black. Cut the silhouette out, paint it black, and then paste it to your background. I'm sorry. I didn't think about that. But isn't this a fun project? You could even do this outside. Alrighty. Well, we are out of time, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you liked this Mother's Day project watercolor tutorial. I hope it gave you some inspiration to do some of your own cards for your moms or the moms in your life. And I hope that you try this silhouette project. You don't have to, but I thought it was something I needed to share because I feel like this would be a super fun one, especially to do outside. But it may be tricky to do outside. It has to be a sunny day and you have to see your silhouette. So just try your best with that one. But I would love to see what you guys create and what toys that you use, because those can be super, super fun. All right. Thank you so much. Remember to stay clean, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope that we see each other again soon. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.